If you've been counting the calories to try to lose weight, there's new advice today that suggests there could be a better way.
Yes, leading doctors say that eating more fish, olive oil and fruit and veg could help tackle the obesity crisis.
Well, in an article in the Postgraduate Medical Journal, doctors say the so-called Mediterranean diet could also prevent heart attacks and stroke. One of the report's authors, cardiologist Dr. Aseem Malhotra, joins us now from our London studio. Dr. Malhotra, thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Bill.
What could be a better way to lose weight than just counting calories?
Well, we have to look at the scientific evidence, and I think the important concepts, first of all, that we need to think about is that all calories are not the same, and they're not metabolized in the same way by the body. We have very good scientific evidence now to tell us that reducing refined carbohydrates, particularly cutting out sugar from the diet, and having less carbohydrates that have no fiber, such as white bread and chips, for example, and that's higher in fat, and fat that comes particularly from foods such as oily fish, olive oil, nuts, is going to be better for sustained weight loss, but also improve your health in the short term. So, for example, we know that research tells us that worldwide, if the population were to increase their proportion of fruit and vegetable consumption by 1 a day and eat nuts by twice, increase their consumption of nuts to twice a week, that would prevent 5 million deaths from cardiovascular disease within 1 year. So the effects on health are quite rapid. And what's interesting is this is independent of body weight. So this includes people who are already overweight or obese, as well as people who are of normal weights. So there's a misperception out there that it's all about obesity, when in fact about 40% of people who have a normal body mass index may develop the diseases associated with metabolic syndrome, so type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, for example.
When we're talking about the Mediterranean diet, presumably we're not including pasta and pizza.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think there's a misconception out there. It isn't pasta and pizza. The main components of the Mediterranean diet that have a scientific evidence base that reduce the risk of heart attack, stroke from reducing inflammation in the body are really extra virgin olive oil, nuts, oily fish, whole fruit and vegetables. These are the most important components of that diet. And also, Bill, it's also a diet that's low in sugar. So, you know, one of the studies that was published very recently, a randomized study, showed that people who consume these sorts of foods but reduce their sweet treat consumption to less than 3 a week, actually were better off in reducing the risk of heart attack and stroke. And that risk reduction happened even within a few months of changing the diet, even in people who were overweight.
Yeah, the trouble is it's all very confusing for people who do want to lose weight and live healthily, because we keep on being told different things are good for us. So now, not for the first time, we're being told by you, but you this morning, there are, some calories are better than others.
Well, just to give you an example, so if you have a calorie from omega-3, we know that's going to protect you from a heart attack. But if you have a calorie from trans fats found in fast food, for example, that's going to increase your risk of a heart attack. Another example, Bill, is take a can of cola, 9 teaspoons of sugar. We know that consuming 1 can of cola per day increases the risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, proven from randomized studies. That's 139 calories. 4 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, which we know actually, if you have that every day, will significantly reduce the risk of heart attack and stroke, 500 calories. And just to give you an example, I follow my own advice. So, I'm somebody that used to have a lot of sugar in my diet. I looked at the evidence. I have a family history of type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure. In the last year or so, I've changed my diet considerably, reduced the sugar I'm eating a lot more fats from these foods. And interestingly, I've actually lost weight, about 1 stone, particularly around my waist. And I know that I'm in better health because of it. So this is encouraging health at every age and every size.
Right, so if I want to live more healthily, starting from right now today, what should I be going out and buying in the supermarket?
Well, I think the first thing to say is be very wary of foods that are marketed as low-fat or healthy, because often the low-fat foods are full of sugar. What's happened is the food industry have exploited this low-fat message, which has been unhelpful, unfortunately, and people are now consuming much more sugar. We know the average Brit is consuming 2 to 3 times the recommended limits by the World Health Organization in sugar. So what I would say is, really, just buy whole foods. That's what we need to do. Go back to eating whole foods, reduce fast food intake, reduce your sugar intake, and you're going to be a lot healthier in a very short space of time.
All right. Thanks very much, Dr. Aseem Malhotra. Thank you.
Thanks.
It is just coming